We're going to tie a Tarcher style fly. Begin with a Daiichi 1760 hook with a 2mm black bead. The thread we're using is Uni 17-aught Trico. Tie the thread in and bring it back into the butt almost before it starts turning down. Now I've got a hen feather and I've cut off the tip so it splits. And I just want to nail it down. I'm trying to keep the feather on the top of the hook for right now, and just one wrap. And then I'm also going to take a piece of peccary hair and tie it in also. And what I'm trying to do is to keep the abdomen as thin as possible. So normally you would tie in the tail, bring it up to the front, bring your thread back in, tie in the peccary. I just tie it in all at once. Now I'm just tying everything down. And bring up my thread to the front of the hook right behind the bead and tie it off. Now I'm going to take a little bit of super glue and just spread it. It helps reinforce the body. Now I'm just going to wrap my peccary. This peccary stuff is really funky. I love it because it gets those bands of light brown and white, and the thickness is just about what the segmentation should be on an abdomen. It's kind of, on the smaller flies it doesn't look as well, but at this size, which is a size 16, it works rather well. You got to be a little judicious though, because it's almost not long enough, this hair. But I get that cool looking banding which is what I like. And tie off my peccary. Now I'm going to reposition my hook so I can have better access to the top of the hook. Now, you'll notice that that flat portion of that hook, this is a clink hammer hook, and that flat portion of the hook is now pretty much horizontal. Now a piece of medallion sheeting, it's about 3/16 inch wide. I'm going to tie it in. And I got a piece of ostrich herl dyed orange or golden. And take it and wrap it up right behind the bead. Now I'm going to take my thread and move it to about the middle of the thorax. And I'm going to split the thread. And I got a piece of golden CDC. The trick here is to let the thread unwind and then lift it up, and as you lift it up with your finger, it flattens out, and that way you can split it. May have to try a couple times. I've been doing this, I've done this 1,000 times, and I still have issues some days. Well, I dropped it, and so now I've got to split it again, but it's easier this time because there's a little bit of feather in there from the CDC. Now you can see there's barely any strands, but when you twist this thing again, it locks it in, and it's rock solid. Now I'm just creating a dubbing brush by spinning my spool of thread. You know, I have access to a lot of bobbins, but I really like the C&F bobbin mainly because it's heavy. So I do this split hair dubbing brush trick all the time. It's just something that I like. And so I'll use a heavier bobbin all the time just so I can get that good spin. Now as I'm wrapping, I'm brushing back the CDC fibers and then bringing it up to the front. I love using CDC. It breathes in the water, it catches bubbles. I think it gives motion to a fly. Even with a fly that's not being stripped, it'll still react to any kind of movement in the water. Now I'm going to I pulled my medallion sheeting over, which is my wing case, right behind the bead. I'm going to trim it off now with my nail nippers. And color my thread with a Sharpie. And do 6 whip finishes. I don't know, I was taught by a guy, Khan, a long time ago. If you do 6 whip finishes, you don't need to use head cement. But I'm also coating it with UV resin, so it doesn't really matter. Now I'm clearing the way for my UV knot scents to put a little bit of protective coating over that medallion sheeting and also onto the bead. What it does is that UV knot scents, when it gets on the bead, it kind of magnifies it. So it turns it into a little hot spot. And I take my UV knot scents and take it from the abdomen all the way up into the bead, mainly because the UV knot scents doesn't stick that well to the medallion sheeting. But I find that if I anchor it back in the abdomen and bring it up into the bead, I don't have as many issues. Now I'm going to cure it with my laser. And I'm going to trim out the CDC in the middle just to give it